Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Lauren here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Diane, and she's selling her e-commerce business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Diane, and how are you doing today?
Hello, thank you so much. I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. I'm looking forward to talking more about you and your business. But before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of the business. So this is an e-commerce business in the lifestyle niche that was created in June 2020. The average monthly revenue for the business is $5,843, and it makes an average of $3,947 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 55258 to learn more about the business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, let's have a look at the assets that are included in the sale. There is a domain and all site content and files, an email list of 3,376 subscribers, Amazon Central Seller account, social media, so that would be Facebook and Pinterest accounts, SOPs, supplier relationships, employee relationships, and a trademark. And please note that inventory is not normally included in the list price, but further details can be provided to verified buyers. So Diane, let's hear from you. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, sure. So I have a full-time job in pharmaceuticals. And so I have always spent my time doing e-commerce sort of as a side hustle for myself. And I've really been building businesses my whole life. You know, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Even in college, it was when I first started. My college roommate and I had started a nannying agency. And I really love building businesses. I currently have 3 Amazon FBA businesses. But this business that we're speaking about today is my first Shopify store. I'm really enjoying building out that type of business. So fairly new to Shopify, but lots of experience in e-commerce in general.
Fantastic. And what made you choose to go into Shopify businesses?
Well, for this specific listing that we're speaking of, it's really in the niche of promoting love and equality. And when George Floyd was murdered a few years ago, my daughter and I, who is 10, we made these digital downloads to promote love and equality, and we were donating the proceeds to Black Lives Matter. But it started to grow. It really got a lot of traction. And then we said, oh, all right, well, people seem to like this. Let's start printing them as yard signs. And we were selling them on Amazon for some time, but they really started taking off. And so we took those and put it onto a Shopify store, and then it continued to take off. And so, you know, from there, we were able to diversify and build out a lot of different types of products. But I think it's just this type of product lends itself well to Shopify. I think it's easy to find a market of folks who are interested in your products utilizing, you know, Facebook attributes and interests. And it just has been working well for us. And there's certainly higher margins on Shopify than on FBA. So we've leaned into that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really great background story to the business. How does it primarily make money?
Primarily makes money through a system that we've set up via sort of like drop shipping. We've bought inventory, which sits at a 3PL. And when the buyers purchase on our site, our 3PL actually goes right into Shopify and fulfills all the orders on our behalf. So we actually don't have to do anything in terms of touching the product or coordinating any of that. They do all of it. It's primarily through Facebook advertising that we gain a lot of our audience. This is primarily a US-based business. About 40% is coming direct now that we've been up and running for about a year. And that's a high amount of repeat buyers. So we've been lucky enough to start to build a bit of a community. So People find us through our Facebook page or through some of our Pinterest accounts. And we just make money through the drop shipping process of people purchasing on Shopify and then the product being sent directly to the customers.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, there's no better celebration of your business than repeat customers. It lets you know you're definitely doing something right.
Oh, good.
So you've got a great backstory for the business, and it sounds like it's something that's definitely close to your heart. How come you're selling the business?
Well, as I mentioned, I do have a full-time job. I am a pharmaceutical consultant, and I enjoy that work very much. And that's, where the majority of my training is. But I also love building businesses. But one of the things that I recognize is that I only have so much time in the day. I also have 3 young daughters. And another thing about me and my skill set is I very much enjoy building businesses, but actually running and scaling businesses is not my forte. So I think someone else could probably do big things with this business. I see all of the traffic and people seem to like it. We have decent conversion rates, and there's a community growing, but I don't have, the time, interest, or energy to put into the business to take it to that next level.
Yeah, so the joy comes from the creation, not the maintaining of the business.
Yes, I love building businesses.
Yeah. So you mentioned you've had a lot of businesses in the past. So it sounds like you've definitely got some experience under your belt. Is there anything you learned from your experience that you would apply to future sites or businesses?
Yes, absolutely. I think, as I mentioned, this is my first Shopify business. And I think that there's a lot of differences between Shopify and Amazon FBA that I had to learn, and I learned by building this business. And a lot of it comes down to trust. When you're selling something on Amazon, people trust Amazon. They know that if they don't get their order, they'll get a refund. And, there's just all of that built-in trust. But you need to build that trust when you have a Shopify store. And so some of the things that I learned over time was that you can get people to your site all day long via paid traffic. But if those customers aren't going to be able to convert because they don't feel safe on your website, you're not going to have sales. So things like, I had built the website initially, and it looked fine, but it wasn't, the most beautiful. But I got support to sort of give the site a makeover. And I think that increased trust. It looked like a professional website. Things like now we have reviews on the site. And I think that there's a lot of, social proof is important to people as they're trying to make purchases. And now we have trust badges. And also there's some photos of, people who have bought the product, who are happy with it. There's a photo of me and my daughter who designed the signs on there. I think we've just tried to increase trust. And we have a pop-up that people can get a discount if they give us their email address. And once they give us our email address, and of course a buyer could have all of this, there's an email sequence that starts. And one of the things that we send is a picture of me, and it could be whomever buys this, that says, "Hi, I'm Diane. I built this business." And it doesn't say this, but what's implied is we're real people. We're going to send you a real product. And we have found that as you can build trust, you really start to get the conversion. So you start to see that people are buying on maybe their second time they come to the site, et cetera. So that's my real lesson learned, is that trust has to be earned. And you don't just get it by throwing a website up on the internet.
Yeah, definitely. That human connection is very important. And, trust does need to be built. But the fact that you have recurring customers means that you've successfully achieved that.
Yes. And we've been able to increase conversion rate over time. So I think the store itself is more appealing when people come. It looks like a professional site. And as I mentioned, those trust badges and the reviews, that also has helped quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. That the work you put in certainly seems to have paid off. Inevitably, when you're building a business, there are a few hiccups along the way. If you had to go back and start this business again, is there anything you do differently the second time around?
Yes. I think that it took us a while to realize that this was a winner. We were selling digital downloads for a while, as I mentioned, on Etsy, and they were doing so well. And we were like, man, this is cool. But we didn't think, hey, let's build a Shopify store until a little bit later. So I think I would have just started sooner is one thing. And we sell a lot of different products, but one of the products that we sell is a yard sign, as I mentioned, and they're very heavy to ship. So at first I had them on the website and you could buy just one, but it cost almost the same amount to ship 2 yard signs as it does to ship one. So after, I was spending a lot of time looking at profitability by SKU. And once we moved to a 2 sign minimum, profit margins really increased. And I think had I seen that earlier, it would have helped overall profitability because we only charge a little bit more, but people feel like they're getting more when they get two signs, because we include the shipping in the price so that there's free shipping across the site. And it's a little easier to give value to customers when you buy 2-packs. So that's something else that we learned along the way that we didn't realize right off the bat.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And unfortunately, it's something that you only learn through experience.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you get a lot of your traffic from Facebook and that you've built up repeat customers and a community. Do you do anything in terms of paid marketing?
Just Facebook ads is the only mechanism with which we're driving sales to the site. We have built a bunch of pins as well, but we don't pay for any Pinterest advertising and we don't pay for any Google AdWords. That's not my strong suit, but I think that's something someone else could certainly do. But no, that's the main way that we're utilizing or getting traffic today. And truthfully, I don't use our list of subscribers the way I probably should. And we have over 3,000 folks on our distribution list. And I think I've sent out like 3 emails ever. So I'm sure that's another way that you could drive volume to the site.
Yeah, that's definitely something that a buyer could tap into. So Diane, if you were to keep the business, what are some of the ways that you would try to grow it?
Well, as I mentioned, I think that utilizing that email list would be great. We also have 6,000 followers on our Facebook page. And that's another place where I don't post, and probably we should. One of the things I haven't mentioned yet is that I have a wonderful VA who supports me on this business, and she's actually excellent at all this stuff. I'm sure she would do it. It's just a matter of getting organized and letting her know what we should be doing. But I would do either of those things. As a part of this business, there's an Amazon FBA business being sold as well, but that hasn't been profitable for some time. And so it's not being sold as an asset, but just merely as a non-compete as a part of this business. But that has a lot of potential. It's mostly unprofitable because I didn't manage the inventory well. There was a lot of expenses for inventory carrying costs, as well as shipping some inventory from Amazon back to us because it was slow moving, because this business is somewhat volatile in terms of traffic. So I think that also making that Amazon business profitable could be so helpful. We haven't even talked about this, but that Amazon business has been around for 3 years. And there's actually 3 SKUs on there that are always profitable, and they have hundreds of reviews and they're strong, money makers. So I think if you could weed out the unprofitable SKUs and just lean into those 3, you could also almost overnight increase the monthly revenues.
Yeah, building up the Amazon store alongside with the Shopify store is a great way to diversify revenue.
Yeah, I actually think there's a lot of other ways you could grow the business too. And I'd be happy to talk to potential buyers about it. But there's things that I'm not doing now. As I mentioned, these things that we sell promote love and equality. And you could do things like work with marches. Right now there's a lot of interest around women's rights, specifically with what's happening in Texas. You could partner with organizations and provide signs and such, in bulk. Like, I think you could really drive a lot of volume that way. Another thing is that about 80% of the people who visit our website are visiting it from their mobile phones. And optimizing for mobile would have huge impacts on the business. Additionally, I've never done any A/B testing. The Facebook ads drive you to a certain landing page. And of course, we have a few different landing pages depending on what we're selling. But I think there's certainly room for optimization there and more sophisticated retargeting. So I think, if I had the bandwidth, those are the things I would start with. I think that's the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, fine-tuning those things can definitely bring an audience in. Diane, you mentioned you have a VA who helps you with a lot of the business, the work, and that a lot of it is also largely automated. Can you walk us through your role in the business and the sort of things you do on a daily or weekly basis?
Yeah, sure. I put in no more than 4 hours a week. That's a conservative estimate. What I do is just make sure all the systems are running. Our VA, who I mentioned, is absolutely wonderful. And she always comes up with great ideas for the business. And she's very reliable. She runs all of the Facebook ads and she does all of the customer support. So she monitors our email. And if a customer, maybe, their product was lost in the mail or they have some concern, she'll deal with that. And she also coordinates directly with the 3PL. So, if something else needs to go out, she can work with them to get it out. So I mostly just make sure that there's nothing that's sitting around that maybe hasn't been addressed. I go in and make sure that all the orders are going out in a timely fashion. But really, most of the systems are in place. A lot of times it's just because I'm interested. I'm like looking at how well we're doing on various ones of our ads in Facebook. But really, those systems run themselves. And my VA runs a bi-monthly report on inventory for us. She pulls how much inventory we have at the 3PL, and then she compares it against the run rates on a 30, 60, 90 day on the various SKUs, and then, highlights the ones that we have a low day of supply versus how long our lead time is. So she does all of that as well. And then I typically take the output of that and purchase the inventory. I think if a buyer was comfortable with, giving their credit card or, figuring something out like that, I'm sure that our VA could also do the ordering. So you could even reduce your needs to a lower degree. But essentially, I just make sure things are running well. When I have time, maybe I'll put together, an email to go out to the list, or think about things that I could do, or make new items for the shop. We've had a lot of success with Printful, which is a print-on-demand shirt, mug, poster site. And so sometimes I'll make new designs and, play with new designs for the Facebook ads. But, really, I just have to make sure that everything's running smoothly. And usually it is.
Perfect. Diane, sorry, I just want to go back to that question. You mentioned shirts and mugs and things. Are you comfortable with the audience knowing those parts of your business?
I think so.
You are? Okay, perfect. And then Diane, you've obviously got some previous experience with FBA businesses and e-commerce, but for a buyer who's not familiar with these business models or this particular niche, what sort of skills or requirements do you think they would need?
I think the very most important skill is actually just organization, making sure that everything's running well, that you have enough inventory, and that everyone who's supporting the business has the information that they need. One thing that's good about this business, if it is going to be somebody's first business or their first Shopify business, is that a lot of it is automated. I think, between my VA and the 3PL, they could probably run this business, without me. So just making sure things are running well is really all you have to do. So being organized and making sure also that you're good with the analytics would be an important skill, ensuring that every SKU remains profitable. Those are the main skills that I think will make someone successful in running this business.
Yeah, that automation does create a good safety barrier for a new buyer. But what do you think the biggest risks are that a buyer should be aware of?
The buyer should be aware that while there's baseline demand for the products that we sell, they're also highly influenced by the political climate. So, when things happen out there in the world, people become more interested in human rights, as sort of that is to say. So I think the way that they valued the business is via a 12-month calculation, but the business has actually been around a bit longer than that and had some bigger months prior, which we removed due to, volatility. But I think you should know that there's risk of volatility based on the political climate as people have, intermittent interest in human rights.
Yeah, I think that's important to note, to maybe bring in some backup SKUs that would sell all year round.
Yes, that's a great point.
Yeah. So with regards to selling the business, would you be willing to commit to a non-compete agreement?
Yes, absolutely. I really want to see someone be successful with this business. As I mentioned, it came from a place where my daughter was very interested in doing something, and I wanted to try and contribute to the world and do something good. So I'd love to see this business continue to grow and continue to affect people. It's really been beautiful building out the community over on Facebook, and folks email us about how certain products that they purchased and maybe hung in their classroom or at their church or, at their home, how it started conversations that they wouldn't have otherwise had. And I think it's a beautiful business, and I'd love to see it continue to be successful. So I certainly wouldn't compete with anybody who is trying to, run this business. I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay, great. And obviously no one knows this business better than you. So what sort of support are you willing to offer buyers to help ease their transition into running the business?
Yeah, sure. So I have offered the 30-day of email support as well as Skype calls. But I mean, truly, I'm open to making this a success for someone. As I mentioned, I just feel passionately about the space and about the community, and I'm happy to make somebody else, to support them on an ongoing basis. We can negotiate that.
Oh, fantastic. That's very generous of you. And I'm sure it'll reassure a lot of potential buyers. And are you open to negotiating something like an earn-out?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love the business. I keep saying that, but I really do. So yeah, I'm happy to continue to stay involved in ways big or small. So
great. And then were there any software or tools that really helped you when you started running the business? I know you mentioned it's largely automated. Is that because of any particular software that you use?
No, I'm not using any software. I just have a giant Excel spreadsheet that I work with. And really, the VA does a lot of the heavy lifting. So we don't have any ongoing software tools that we use.
Okay, great. And then the last question, and the one that I'm sure all our listeners are most eager to hear the answer to. If you had to put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this isn't a business worth buying?
Well, you can make $4,000 a month with very little effort. So, I mean, the median income in the United States is well below that, so with very little effort. So I would say it's passive. You can live the life that you want. You could do this with a full-time job. You could do this while you raise a family. I think it's just passive business, and you get to make positive change in the world.
Yeah, I think that's the message most people would walk away with. And those are all very compelling reasons why our listeners should definitely check out this business on our marketplace. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that I might have missed?
No, I think we've covered everything. Just again, gratitude to you for hosting this call, and for people who are interested in the business. I'm happy to answer any incremental questions if anyone wants to speak directly. And I'm very happy to support new buyer through the process and help them make the business a success.
Thanks so much, Diane. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed it too. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 55258. If you're watching this on YouTube, click in the link in the description below to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.